Hey guys, I'm Nick and this is my Linux experiment. So in this video I'd like to talk to you about the AppCenter and the ways you can install programs inside Elementary OS. So the first thing to notice is the Elementary OS AppCenter is the primary way to install software on Elementary OS. It's basically your app store. If you use an Android phone or an iPhone, you know what that is. So it's a little program, it's by default on your bottom bar here, it's the little shop icon. You can also find it here by just clicking on AppCenter or typing AppCenter in the search box. So the AppCenter is, as I said, the primary way to install apps on Elementary OS. It holds every single app that are on the repositories, I don't know how you pronounce it, repositories of Elementary OS. So Linux works with repositories. It's just basically online gigantic servers where they will store every single package that's used to install any single software or library that your system will need. So of course, not every single software for Linux is inside the repositories because, well, it would be a humongous task to package everything. So the distribution maintainers will package and store every program that they think is worth having on a distro. So on Elementary OS we are lucky because it's based on Ubuntu, which is itself based on Debian, which has one of the biggest repository of software ever, so you will not be lacking in this department. So AppCenter. You'll see first that the window has two tabs, Home and Updates. Home will be your primary way to interact with it. When you look for a specific software, you can click on any of these categories and see a list of apps. So another thing you might notice is that when you scroll down, you will see a list of apps, but then a list of non-curated apps. So what Elementary OS does in its AppCenter is putting Elementary OS specific apps, so apps that have been designed for Elementary OS, they will put them first. So you know that these apps will look and feel like Elementary OS apps. So they might have been developed with Elementary OS technologies, so they created their own library which is called Granite, which allows you to create apps that look like elementary apps. But of course they won't stop you from installing every other app that is available normally for every other Linux system, and they will work great. They will just not look as native as the other apps here. So to install an app you just have to click on free, which is the price, and that's it. But you will also notice something here. This is what the developers call the Humble button. It's a simple button that shows you the recommended price for an app. Here it's $1 for a Bookmark Manager. But of course, if you don't want to pay, you can just click on the arrow, type in 0, then enter, and you will start downloading the app, and it will require, of course, your password to install it. So what it does is show you that this app, the development of this app has a price, and the developer estimates that $1 is a fair price to pay for his app. Some might put more, some even say free, but you can put some more. You decide. You can of course download them by not paying anything, by typing 0 in this box, or just typing the minus arrow and then clicking enter. But that's all. So that's the thing that they added. So of course there is a search function. So if I look, for example, for Red Notebook, here it is, Red Notebook, it's free. You can of course click on an app and see its description. If it has screenshots, you can also see the screenshots. And if you click on the little arrow there, you will be taken back to home. So let's see, for example, DP, which is an app that calculates the high DPI-ness of your screen. Like that. So it will calculate whether your screen is ready for high DPI or not. It's not very important. So you see there are screenshots of the app telling you how it works, plus a nice description, the latest update data, etc. So Elementary OS developers are working closely with these app providers so that they give you the most details so you know what you're downloading and what you're using. So that's the AppCenter. It's really simple. You have the Updates tab as well, which lists every single app that you can download. So it will be separated between operating system updates. So these are the latest updates to your core system. And of course, application updates and driver updates, so that you know what you're installing. And that's about it for the AppCenter. That's the primary way to install applications. Now, what you might find on the internet sometimes is deb packages. They're mostly marketed as Ubuntu type software. They will be downloadable items. It's just one file, it's a deb file, and you can of course click on it to install it. But by default, Elementary OS does not let you install them. So you will need to download an app in the App Center, which is called Eddy. Eddy, you can install it. It's a really simple installer. It will just take your package, you click install, it installs it, and that's it. So since Elementary OS is based on Ubuntu, it will work with most Ubuntu packages, specifically packages made for Ubuntu 16.04, which is the version that Elementary OS Loki is based on. So the latest version of Elementary is Loki, and it's based on Ubuntu 16.04. So you can install virtually any package made for this version of Ubuntu without any problems, technically. So just install Eddy, click on the package, it will install your software, and it will show up in applications here if it's a graphical software. If not, you can launch it through a terminal down there. That's about it for packages, but now if a software isn't available in DEB format or inside the App Center, you might also find what are called PPAs. Specifically, if you try to install Wine, the latest version, you will have to install a PPA. So what's a PPA? It's a personal package archive. PPA is basically a repository, but it's not maintained by the distribution. It is maintained by an individual or a separate company or organization. And they will provide packages that are compatible with your system, mostly compatible with Ubuntu and maybe compatible with Elementary OS. But if you want to try them, you first need to search if this PPA is compatible with your system. If it touches many core libraries, I would really not recommend you do that. If it's just for installing one app, it will work perfectly fine. So how do you install a PPA? Well, you will find on the websites a few commands. So if I go, for example, into the Wine HQ PPA, there we go. So they will give you a few commands to type in the terminal. So don't start to panic. It's really easy. But first you will have to do one thing, because Elementary OS, since it's not Ubuntu, does not support PPAs by default. So what you want to do, starting from now, is type in this command. So sudo, which means you're going to launch this command as administrator, apt, which is a package manager that will download software and install it to your system, install, which is the action that you're going to do, installing something, and you're going to type software properties -common. So this, and then enter. You type in your password, of course. And it's going to list the software. So I already installed it in my system, but if you did not install it first, it will show up as, are you sure you want to install? Press enter to continue. You press enter, it will download it and install it. Now you have the basic software that is required to install a PPA. So installing a PPA is as simple as following the commands here. So for example, for the Wine PPA, you will type in this first command. Be careful not to include the weird icons, because they might not work well in the terminal. So this command here will download a release key, which is a security key that will be imported in your package manager, and check that the repository is certified. apt key add release key will just add this file you just downloaded to your key manager for repositories, and then sudo apt add repository, and the URL of the repo, and it will just add this repository to your system. When it's done, you type sudo apt get update, which will update the list of software, and then you can just install the branch you want to install with the stable branch for Wine, the developer branch for Wine, and the staging branch for Wine. So that's how you install PPA. Just follow the instructions and try it out. If it does not work on the system, it might just be that the PPA is not compatible with the system, so you might have to remove all the packages that have been installed, remove the PPA from your source lists. Technically, if you're just installing PPAs for apps, you will not have a big problem. If you install PPAs for whole desktop environments or system libraries, you might encounter a few problems, so I would not recommend you do it. So I'll go into more detail about Wine and how to install it and how to run it in another video, because that's not the topic of this one. So that's what you will find mostly for apps. You might also find some .run or .sh files. These are a bit trickier because they will depend on what you have installed in your system, so I will do another video on them later. But just know that mostly all of the software you will need will be in the App Center, right down there in your dock. So I hope you learned a few things if you did not know about them, and see you in the next video. Bye!